Hello, fellow cavers. This is Dan Straley, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about some cave exploration we've been doing in Colombia, and this particular cave right here, Cueva del Phantom. A little bit about me. I started caving in the 1990s in Florida, maybe around 91. I found organized caving through the Tampa Bay area grotto in 1994. I've been with them for since then, and I found the NSS. I started becoming a member of the NSS around 2000, 2001, and wish I would have joined a lot earlier, but was really into caving and cave exploring and not paying so much attention to all the political stuff that goes on and the benefits really of being a member of the NSS, which has come to light recently. I've They've been very kind to me, and I'd like to give back. So here's one presentation, and I expect to give more presentations over the next few years of some of the work that we've been able to do in Colombia. Um, I started caving in Colombia about 11 years ago. Um, I've been to Colombia around 90 times, and I've been to pretty much every part of Colombia. I also do a lot of exploration in Ecuador. I've been to Ecuador around 40 times, and I've been to most parts of Ecuador and found many caves there uh, over the years. I also have been to Chile and uh, for South America and a lot of Central America, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and a lot of places in Europe. But my favorite place is definitely Colombia. Colombia is a wonderful country. Um, it's got a bad reputation, which kind of helps me out because not a lot of people go there to explore. It does have a bad reputation for a reason. Oops, I didn't mean to slide that. It does have a bad reputation for a reason, but nowadays it's gotten a lot better. I speak fluent Spanish, which kind of helps me get around there. Gets me to little towns, and I've got a little system that we use to kind of be friendly with the locals, and it works very well. And people welcome us mostly, and we don't really have any issues. Although that's not everywhere, but it's most of the time. Um, Colombia is a great place to explore because of 50 years of war has kind of kept it um, a hermit country mostly. I mean, even most Colombians don't know the rural areas. They've all been trapped into the cities for many years. Most of them for most of their lives. So it's kind of nice to be able to get out and explore. And there are cavers in Colombia. There's several cavers. I work a lot with Jesus Fernandez, Sofia Oceani, and there's a caver that's helped me out quite a lot with this particular cave with her great intelligence that she has and her knowledge of things in Colombia, and that's Usaga. Blanca has a great knowledge of things in Colombia about where caves are, what some indigenous things might mean, and she's helped me a lot about this particular cave, and get into that here in just a second. So I just figured I'd talk a little bit about caves in Colombia, and I'll slide to the next one. And these are some massive caves that we've been able to explore in Colombia. This cave right here is Cueva La Tronera, and it's called the Corazón de Colombia, the heart of Colombia. This pit is a 100-meter pit that is perfectly heart shaped, incredibly heart shaped. It's crazy how cool that cave is, but that's Brady Merritt down there. Um, Very interesting cave, humongous cave, just massive. This cave over here, this is Cueva Corracos. It's also another large cave. It has a lot of beautiful formations. It's both these caves get a little bit of tourist visits. There's been some problems, particularly in this cave, where cavers, or I should say guides, A lot of cavers in Colombia want to be guides. They're not interested so much. They're interested in money more than the exploration part, I think. I'm not sure. Or maybe they do a little bit of both, but they want to charge you to go caving. And this cave here gets a little bit of traction. It's got a lot of formations. It's been getting damaged. It has a humongous waterfall. It's like 25 feet, solid white. It's probably oh, 70, 80 feet wide. This waterfall, it's huge, beautiful. And it just gets all marked up with boots and dirt and mud. And it's just, there's not a lot of conservation going on. And it's kind of a problem. So, hoping that over the next few years, we can kind of get that sorted out. This cave over here, this is Cueva del Aire, the air cave. It's about 450 feet deep. It's got some little bit of cave at the bottom, not a lot. That's my car right there. This is the road. So you can see it's a massive, massive cave. This little building right here was a failed attempt at some tourism. The problem is the cave's just so remote. It's not easy to access. And a lot of people don't know about it. So not a lot of people go there. Although it is probably one of the most visited caves in Colombia. As far as not being an official tour cave. There are tour caves that get a lot more traction, but this cave does get a little bit because it's impressive. I mean, it's a giant hole. It's 600 feet wide, something like that. It's huge. This is a little bit of stuff that we find here. This cave here, this is Cueva Caracos, and if you look down here, you can see there's some people standing there. It's a massive cave. It's got some really cool stuff in it. I don't want to get into because I don't want a lot of people knowing what's in there, but this cave here, this is kind of the front yard to a house that we've had over the past few years in El Peñon, Colombia, Santander. There's a house right here in the front, and this is kind of the view every day. And you wake up, drink a cup of coffee, you wake up to this. I mean, it is one of the most beautiful places I have ever been in any country, anywhere. It is gorgeous. This cave over here is in Paramore, Colombia. It's near San Hill in Santander. It's called Cueva del Indio. It's a very big cave, very cool cave, but it has it's right on the edge of this town. The town is like right here, and all the water from the town kind of runs into here, and it's basically a toilet. It's sad because it's a beautiful cave with like a huge canyon, river passage. You can swim in it. I mean, it's awesome, but I would not get in that water. We've done some science research in here, and it's not, it's some scary stuff. Do a lot of work with in Humboldt Institute, and we go around, look for crabs and look for all kinds of stuff. And that kind of brings me to the next slide. And these are some of my photos from some of the weird things that we find in the caves. This is an Apelian. They are harmless. Of course, it's a granddaddy longlegs. It's family to the granddaddy longlegs. You can hold it in your hand, and it doesn't bite or anything, but it is atrocious looking. This is a crab species that was discovered in El Peñon just a few years ago. It's a new species, very interesting, and we've been finding them in a lot of caves. This is a moth, or a polillo in Espanol, and very interesting. I cannot find anything on this moth. I don't know if we found it in the entrance to Cueva del Phantom, and I don't know anything about it. I have asked entomologists. I've asked all kinds of people. Nobody knows what it is. No idea. Don't know if it's a variation of a species. Don't know if it's... No idea what it is. I want to collect one and take it somewhere and try to find out what it is someday. These are, of course, pseudoscorpions. These are tailless whip scorpions, massive ones that I've seen in the Amazon. I took these pictures in the deep Amazon. There's several of them with many colors, and very, very cool, very big, probably the size of a dinner plate. And this is some little weird worm that we found in Cueva Caracos. I thought it was interesting, and it's extremely small, probably the size of your pinky fingernail. I took that picture with a Canon G10, and came out so-so, not too bad. For Institute of Humboldt, and they published that photo in one of their books, so I was happy. This is some other projects that we've been doing in Colombia. This is out deep in the Amazon. Some interesting caves, quartzite caves. So there's more than just limestone caves in Colombia. You have quartzite caves and some really cool stuff. Being out on the tributaries to the Amazon River, basically. Malocas, and these places you have to fly to them. You have to charter an airplane to get to them. And you have to have permission from the indigenous people there to actually go out there. So we've been working on some projects looking for stromatolites and some pretty interesting stuff. So some ongoing projects out there I hope to present next year, maybe to the NSS. And I think that project is probably the most interesting thing I've ever worked on in Colombia or anywhere. So I'm looking forward to presenting a little bit about that one. And so I've just kind of added a slide to it. I built these slides on a flight back from Colombia just 2 days ago, so kind of just threw it together real quick. And I actually even threw a little map together of Phantom, because I haven't really worked on the map yet. We're still working on it. The cave is humongous. We have not found the end of the cave by any stretch. I have a lot more to survey in there, and so I just kind of been bumping along. The cave's at around 9,000 feet. It's humongous passages. This is my scale here I drew in there. It's about 150 feet wide, this little mark. So you can see that most of the cave is pretty massive. I mean, it's just a giant cave. It's interesting, some of the stuff that we found in there. But this photo is from the day that we found the cave. I took it from the drone. I found it with a Phantom drone. It's part of the name. The other part of the name is it kind of escaped discovery from Jesus Fernandez, who lives fairly close by. And he didn't know the cave was there because you can't see it on any Google Maps, on any aerial photos. Nothing here shows up. So the only way to do it really is to get out there and scan with a drone, which we started doing in 2018. And our first day scanning with the drone, found this. I mean, just giant cave. Actually, I'll show you a video. Let me show you that, and you can kind of see what the entrance looks like. Let's see here. This is standing in the entrance. I mean, just massive caves. And there's caves found like this on a regular basis in Colombia in different areas. I mean, just some fairly large stuff out there that just hasn't been discovered. Or maybe it's been discovered by the locals, but really cavers or anything haven't been there. So some really cool stuff to be found. This particular cave, this right here, these little marks are some indigenous things I'll get into in a little bit. And you kind of wing your way back here, and you get into these massive rooms that just have, I mean, it's just outer space. It's kind of like the Rumble Room in Tennessee there. I mean, just some big rooms. You can't see anything, just blackness. And, of course, some waterfalls in there that kind of put a little bit of humidity in the air. The depth of this cave so far is at 120 meters, around 450 feet, something like that. Or I don't remember, 400 something feet. Anyways, fairly deep cave. It's kind of a nice hike out of the cave. You're going to kind of have to keep abreast of that because the cave's at 9,000 feet, and it just consumes all of your energy to get there, to get in the cave, and to do any kind of work. We've been actually camping in the cave the past few times because the distance and the strenuousness just to get to the cave is, I mean, it's very strenuous. It just eats, especially if you're carrying a rope, you're doing any kind of heavy work, yeah, especially like surveying. It just takes a lot of energy to get there. This area here is kind of cool because here we're at 110 meters. This passage is coming right back towards the entrance. It ends in a little breakdown pile, and then we're at 25 meters right here. So there's a considerable, like 80 meter difference or 90 meters difference Well, I guess like 85 meters or something difference between these two sections. So I believe there's a pit there somewhere. There's a lot of airflow going down in here. From here, there's airflow, moves down in here, and then just dissipates into this area. And we don't know where it's going, but there's a little bit of water trickling through here. And it's kind of interesting. We just don't know. We haven't found the pit yet, but I'm sure there's a pit there somewhere. Somehow there's something going on. So pretty interesting for us anyways, exploring. This pit we have found. I found this pit also with the drone. That's me, my ugly face. And this pit is about, I don't know, it's probably close to 300 feet deep. It has a cave entrance in it that's about 200 feet tall. And that cave entrance, this pit is right here where I have the cursor. So this cave runs basically to this sump, and that water reappears in this pit. Now, we have not been to the bottom of this pit. We did not bring a long enough rope. We had a 270-foot rope, and it did not touch the bottom. So it just kind of hung off the edge and kind of took a peek. You can hear the water down below, but we have no idea where it goes. I mean, it just kind of goes off this way somewhere. No idea. I have no clue. Completely unexplored. I hope to get to that someday. It's just part of the exploration, I guess. It takes time. It's a lot of energy. And it's kind of hard to get people out there to Colombia because it's kind of a scary place, I guess. This right here is an interesting cave. This cave right here, where my cursor is, I found with Brady, also with the drone. We explored it last year in 2020. We went to the cave. We climbed up to this upper section, which is probably somewhere around right here. That cave is right here. And we climbed up into this upper section in this area, and we found child-sized footprints, like using boots. Like, I'm from Florida. We call those boots Tarpon Springs Reeboks because Tarpon Springs is a Greek fishing town, and everybody walks around in these little rubber boots, and they have a very distinct sole on them, and they wear those out there in the farms in Colombia. So we found these child-sized footprints, and no adult-sized footprints, but these little child footprints, and you have to crawl through this one section, and that person walked through there. So we were like, this is definitely a child. It's not like a small person or anything. It was a child. No idea how old the boot prints are at the time. We're just perplexed that there were boot prints up in this upper level that was extremely difficult to climb up into. And it ended in a 30-foot wall with air just blowing up into it. I mean, just going up over top of that wall. I don't know where it was going, but there was plenty of air moving through there. So I thought at the time, I'm sure that cave probably connects to Phantom somehow, some way. But at the time, we didn't know anything about what you're seeing on this little map I drew out on the flight. So we didn't know nothing about this section of the cave. We knew about Phantom, but we didn't know about this section. We're still exploring like the first parts of the cave. So we had these weird boot prints, and we just, curiosity. I was like, how in the world did a child get here? It's insane. I just thought somebody lowered a child down that 30-foot wall to the floor and let him run around to see where the cave went. And that's what I thought at the time. I thought somebody lowered somebody down from up there, and there's another cave up there somewhere. So that was my thought, and it turned out I was right. Right here is the entrance to Cueva de Phantom, and it's fairly large. This is kind of our little camping spot, which is basically right here. We camp right here. And it gets a little cool because airflow just moves right on down into the cave right here. But we kind of camp out right here. Kind of a nice little spot. And if you look over here, this is kind of the canyon. This is kind of the walk into the cave. It's just jungle. I mean, just plants growing on top of plants, and muddy and just boggy. And we're at 9,000 feet, so it's a very lush place at that altitude. It's crazy, it's fantastic, but it eats you alive as far as your energy level and your breathing, and it's extremely difficult. This is the entrance. Walking down into the cave, you can see the waterfall that's here. Um, and that little creek just runs on down into the cave and runs off and disappears over here. Disappears into another section. Pretty interesting, cool entrance, humongous entrance. So this here is, I kind of lined up the entrance with correctly here, the way that it would be on any map. And this little line right here represents the direction of the sun, the way the sun beams. So what happened is I have found this tomb or an altar. I'm not sure which one it is. It's been robbed. Whoever had been in the cave with those boots was there for a reason. They were there looking for stuff in the cave. So there's a tomb right here, and there's a calendar drawing in the floor right here. And there's these little rocks, and this area is extremely level. It was built by the indigenous people. They built this area. Now, these indigenous people are called the Yariguris. That came to me from Blanca. We talked about the cave one day, and she just put some great ideas in my head. And so this area here was built by the indigenous people, and then they drew this little drawing of a calendar, and then they drew another little drawing which actually those people that were in there taking stuff stepped on. So this little thing's a little bit damaged, unfortunately. This area is very interesting. There's a blue stalagmite from the copper in the rock right here, and I'm not sure if that was significant to them or not, but it's very blue, very cool looking. And then there's a couple more little level areas. There's a level area right here where they made a level spot, which I think there were indigenous people living in the cave. And there's another level spot right over here where they were living. There's corn cobs in the cave. There's some things in there. It's kind of interesting. So Blanca told me, well, maybe the sunlight touches that altar. And I thought, I didn't think about that before. That's a good idea. But I just didn't imagine, because it would have to like go through a couple crazy things. The sunlight would have to be able to go over this right here, and then the sunlight would have to enter the cave and then somehow reach all the way to that altar, which is pretty far in the cave. And so it just didn't make sense to me that that could be even possible, like that was even a possibility, but it turns out that it is. And so here I drew in a little line kind of representing the way the sunbeam would work as it flew through the cave, but it definitely does. And so after Blanca, put that in my mind, I had actually used the altar as a survey point, so I knew exactly where it was in the cave in relation to the entrance, and I was able to draw that in. And I calculated that around May 26th would probably be the best day that sunlight could reach that tomb if everything lined up just right. So I returned to the cave this May 17th, 2021. That was the dates I could get there. So got to the cave and was able to see that most definitely the sun hits that altar in the month of May. So that little calendar drawing is significant to the month of May. So pretty interesting. It's just amazing what these guys did back in the day. There's a lot of caves. I don't want to talk a lot about some of the stuff that's in the caves because it's stuff that I don't want local people knowing about. But there's some really interesting things in these caves, and I don't want stuff to get stolen. I want stuff to be, I don't want to get into it too much, but there's some really interesting stuff out there. And this tomb altar thing, unfortunately, it has been opened. I'm assuming by the same people that left the boot prints. These are some pictures here of the drawings. So this is the little drawing in the floor that I was talking about. This area has all been leveled out by the indigenous people, which is this area right here. There's another drawing right here that's been damaged, but you can kind of see a little bit of it right here. Unfortunately, it was walked on. It's my girlfriend Carolina lighting it up for me. But you can kind of see it's a rows of circles and then a plus in the middle. And that's significant, I'm assuming, to the month of May for the indigenous people in the area. Here I got a picture of sunbeam coming into the cave. This day that we were there was cloudy, and we did not have the energy to return the next day. I mean, we were destroyed. This place is extreme. It's extremely difficult to get to. It's hard to explain it. A lot of people think, "Oh, I'm tough. I can get there," and they go there and they go, "My God, this place is horrible. It is horrible. It will eat you alive, man. It is." This girl is in extreme shape, and she just cannot get over how difficult it is to get to this place. It's very difficult. So what's kind of interesting is that there's these little black marks, soot marks on the ceiling, and this area is directly above this drawing. So these guys are standing there with their little torches, drawing out these little drawings, and basically leaving soot marks on the roof, which is, we'll be able to radiocarbon date, I assume. So I'm really interested in kind of getting some samples of that and try to get that radiocarbon dated, which I think would be really cool to know how old this stuff is. This is the actual altar, the tomb right here. You can kind of see I left my disto sitting on the edge of it, and you can see that the sun definitely aligns just in this little hole. So it only happens at a certain time of the year, and it aligns just right to touch that altar. It's just that the day we were there, it was so cloudy out that the cloud was obscuring the sunlight dramatically. So I did a time exposure and was able to see that the sun actually lines up perfectly. So I can't wait to get an actual picture of sunbeams touching the altar, but it definitely does, and it's definitely significant, and it's definitely marking a time of year for these people. And I'm sure it was a very significant thing at some point in the past, but really cool find, and something very, very interesting. Well, I just want to say that was the cave, I guess. I appreciate all the support that I've had through the NSS. This is kind of the entrance here. This is Bill Walker looking over the tomb. And this is the little calendar drawing. Some other pictures that we took, you can kind of see that blue formation there. Very interesting stuff going on in Colombia. So we have some great things to explore and some fantastic things that we found already. And some projects that we've been working on. I mean, we got so many projects, ridiculous. But this is definitely one of my favorite projects. I just really am interested in these indigenous people and their sense of intelligence, their sense to mark a cave. I mean, mark this tomb right here that they've been with the sun. I mean, it's just insane, just incredible. One little point about the boot marks that we found in the back of the cave. So I'll be back up. This is the end of the cave. This would be this little point right here. This is as far as I can see into the cave. I kind of drew that on. So this point is right here, and you can see where they climbed over their little boot marks, where they climbed over this formation, and they continued on, and somewhere up around in here is going to be that drop, that 30-foot drop into we thought was another cave, but it's actually the same cave. And so they lowered a child down. Those little boot prints run all through here, and with an adult. So they walked all the way back up in here. And they had a machete, and judging by the cut marks on the pieces of wood, and there's a scaling pole right here. And if you touch that pole, it's as soft as a sponge. It has been there for a great amount of time. So long that it's almost become dust. I mean, it's just barely sitting there. I don't know how long that takes. I don't know how many years that would be, but I imagine it's probably quite a long time. So I'm going to imagine that child that was in this cave is an adult today in the town, and I want to find that person and ask them what in the world they were looking for and what in the world they saw when they came in here and found all this stuff. I'm very curious because there's some really interesting things found in other caves and that are still there, of course, just people don't know about it, and we're kind of trying to protect these places. Um, this area, it's kind of got into a little bit about the copper being in the formations. This area is all slated to be mined as a copper mine. The mining company owns the mineral rights to this particular cave and a lot of stuff around. So we're trying to do what we can to save these caves and kind of keep the copper mine out of there, or at least maybe they can move it to another area or something. I don't know, but it's a battle going on with the local people. It's kind of a dangerous situation for cavers because you walk in, you're wearing helmets, and the people can easily mistake you for a miner, and they are not nice to the miners. They do not like the miners. They try to flip their cars. They try to burn their cars. I mean, they are not into having miners in the area at all. So we kind of get in there and we kind of show them that who we are. We engage them, we engage their children, we try to be as friendly as we can and make sure that they remember who we are. So when we come back, people know us, and we make sure we buy stuff in town, that we're spending our money to get our water, to get our food and stuff in the local town, so that oh, Danny's here, they call me Danny. Danny's here. We're friends of Jesus, and that's kind of gets us on the inside because we're definitely not Colombians. We don't look Colombian at all, and it's kind of good to be on the good side of the people because it's where they live. They don't want miners in there, and they're cool with cave explorers, but because they know we're there to help. They know we don't want the mine just as much as they don't, and they know we're there to help. It's just making sure that people understand that we're not miners. Even flying the drone out there, I've had the police come and kind of harass us a little bit. Not harass us, but just kind of wonder what the heck we're doing, because these people hear the drone flying around. It's a large drone, a Phantom. You can't really fly anything else out there because it just is so high altitude. But they think it's miners out there looking for places to mine. So it's a little bit of a hot situation. Kind of got to be careful, but it's definitely worth the harassment, worth the trouble to get out there and find these amazing things. And I hope that everybody else is having a good explorations and finding great things. And I welcome anybody to Colombia. Just tell you that it's not the easiest. You kind of got to be in shape a little bit to get around out there, but it's well worth it. And the things that are to be discovered, a lot of times are amazing. So thank you very much for paying attention to this presentation, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Kind of threw it together at the last minute there, but it's still some interesting things, I think. And I'm going to publish an article here before too long. Try to get back out there and do a little bit more work in the cave and try to find out what's at the bottom of those big pits and kind of know where the water's going. I believe that this cave feeds other caves below it and probably connects to them some which way. We just don't know yet how that happens, but it's a lot of work to be done. So, and there's not a lot of people doing it, so it's kind of amazing. But I appreciate you all paying attention, and I hope you all have a great day and enjoy the rest of the convention. And we'll be talking soon. So, thanks a lot. And have a great day. Bye bye.